What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about The Strangers from 2008, directed by Brian Bertino, starring Liv Tyler, who is mostly known from the Lord of the Rings franchise and, that awkward as hell Hulk film, and Scott Speedman, who I only really know him from the Underworld franchise and season 3 of You. He's the neighbor's husband. This movie is actually pretty simple, as it's about a couple who have their perfect getaway turned on its head and becomes an absolute nightmare. Right away, I love this film. I'm fully aware that for a lot, this movie is extremely slow and takes forever to really get into high gear, especially considering that the plot itself is already really thin, so there's not too many subplots that will captivate you until the main story actually reaches its climax. But honestly, I love a slow burn. I'm the kind of guy that can say one of my favorite films is Robert Eggers' The Witch, and that movie is a slow burn as well. I surprisingly also love the 2000s vibe to this film. It spawned in the era where inspired by true events was all over the place. Like, sure, movies before this had already done that, but in this particular era, so many movies were being dumped into theaters using that gimmick. But regardless, I don't know, this one just really worked for me. I love that it took inspiration from the late 60s Manson murders and just that nature of crime in general. Also, a lot of horror movies really love the rural setting. It's smart. It eliminates the issues or potential plot holes that might arise if you were given a suburban setting. However, one of the biggest issues with this is that it's overused, and as a byproduct, it makes it extremely predictable. Adding to this, at least in my opinion, most movies that use the rural setting lack the finesse of using this setting to the maximum benefit of the film. A lot of the time, because of terrible character decisions and just meandering around like the Friday franchise, it feels like such wasted potential of a cool environment. I love that the protagonists feel like no matter what solution they come up with, it doesn't matter. It gives that all hope is lost atmosphere perfectly. In fact, the atmosphere similarly reminds me of The Green Room. I highly recommend that movie. The characters are freaking brilliant in that one. But it also helps because it feels like the setting is an actual factor in the story. It feels cold, dark, and unsafe, and that's the best part of the whole movie, at least to me. It feels unsafe. The characters are, for the most part, hard to hate. In fact, adding in the idea that they are in a broken state really helps you root for them. Basically, James had tried to propose to Kristen at a friend's wedding reception, and ultimately she ended up saying no. It's funny because he really should have picked a better situation to have done that, but I digress. He had planned to make the getaway more of a celebration, assuming that she had said yes. But despite the fact that they were not on the best of terms, it really felt like not once throughout the movie they were against each other, and at times felt poignant about how things turned out in their relationship, like for example when Kristen was trying on the wedding ring. Bertino instead decided to try and make them look out for each other, and I don't know, I feel like that would have been such an easy cliche way of making these characters end up dead, by either sabotaging each other or any other form of selfishness really. In fact, to make an exclamation point on the idea that they don't hate each other and are actually in love or in lust, up to your interpretation, as they start to have sex right before the knocking begins. The strangers themselves, I think, are the heart of the film and are what really elevate this movie for me. I understand the complaint that they take too long to do the killing. Like, if you're going to kill them, just get it over with. And there's so many scenes of them just kind of dollying around the house and just teasing Kristen and James. The whole idea of Predator playing with its food, but nah man, I veer more on the side of it being more disturbing how nonchalant they are. It's a show of power that there's no rush to kill them because they know they hold all the cards. Consider how many movies with similar situations like this, the villains who are the predators and play too long with their food end up getting bested by the leads because of a mistake and the leads survive. That's so often the case in movies that you honestly expect that here. But the fact that no, they don't survive and follow through with the predator eventually killing its prey is shockingly unexpected. The motive, oh my god, the motive is by far the most known aspect of the film. When after this entire nightmare is almost over, Kristen asks why did they do it, and just coldly responding, because you were home. The absurdity of doing this whole thing just cause they were home at the wrong time is genius writing, and as far as motives go, that's one of the most memorable ones by far for me. Something also worth mentioning is the music, or rather lack thereof. because it makes the jump scares hit that much harder. But I do really like where the repetitive skip on the record player happens. I always found that to be very creepy. Speaking of which, the jump scares here are appropriately sprinkled out throughout the movie, but the obvious standout is the scene where Kristen fails to notice that the strangers had already infiltrated their house. And the most unsettling thing about it is honestly the rawness to the scene. It holds for a really long time, and with no need for added dramatic music or really any other effects, it adds to the unnerving feeling to it. The realism and candidness of the moment, along with tapping into our fears of feeling like somebody's behind us staring at us only to turn around and not see anybody. It's brilliant how they captured that feeling so well. On a personal level, I really can't sing the praises enough on this scene because this is my favorite type of scare. The far background ones are always the ones that just feel the most unsettling. Think Get Out, Hereditary, Barbarian as just some examples. However, I do have some gripes with the movie, and while small, they always do distract me on rewatch. For starters, all the emotion is coming from Kristen, while James seems so dry throughout the film. Like, adding in more emotion considering how dire the situation is would have made the movie that much better. And this might just be a me thing, but similarly to other iconic movie moments, like the "Is Tamara here" line, it's so good, but in retrospect, knowing that they want to explain who Tamara is in the upcoming trilogy hurts it because it makes it feel like it's an important plotline where I've never felt that to be the case. I personally have always been of the opinion that it just doesn't matter who Tamara is. That's the whole scare, that it could literally be anybody. Plop in any other name and that's the same movie. I love the obscurity and anonymity of it, and knowing that it's gonna get spoiled is gonna harm future rewatches of the original. Also, James's friend Mike, played by Glenn Howerton, really didn't add anything to the movie. He was so disposable, such a nothing character really. Though I can appreciate and entertain the idea that the good guys don't have plot armor against each other. Understandably, Kristen and James are feral and don't think twice about their decisions by this point. But yeah, in general, I love this movie, and to me, it's an enduring classic for sure. I'd appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and my name's Anthony. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.